Hello and welcome to my Yugioh channel. Today we're looking at some new information that came from Festa in regards to Master Duel. As of now and time of recording, there has been no release date confirmed either. For me that's a little frustrating. I'd love to know when it's coming out. There are rumours and allegations that it's winter 2021, but the argument is that's going to happen by about March 2022. We'll just have to wait to see what happens. So it says here that you're able to carry your data across multiple devices. I'm guessing that's going to include your laptop, your smartphone, your tablet, any other devices you can think of. I think this is a really good idea because being able to do that means you can essentially duel in whatever situation you're in. If you're on the move, on the go, if you're on a train, then you can actually just play on your smartphone or tablet. If you're in your house and you feel comfortable, you can just play on the laptop. Me preferably, I've got bad eyes, so I would prefer the laptop over anything else. But I'm hoping as well, since it does work alongside things like the Xbox, the PlayStation, Nintendo Switch hopefully as well, that anything you can use, it's available to you. And I think that's fantastic, as you can get so many more players interacting with the game than you would if it was only to be allowed on X or Y device, because not everyone can afford the Xbox, the PlayStation, the Nintendo Switch, the laptop, the smartphone, and the iPad. It says here as well that as part of the dueling, as reported previously, events and tournaments are going to be held using a variety of regulations, most likely the forbidden and limited lists, but perhaps there might be other limitations. The top room with the rabbit logo reads standard, and the one below, duel room, can be used. I find this quite interesting as well, because from what this is defining it as, forbidden and limited lists will be whatever's currently available, and I'm guessing if you're playing in the OCG format, that will work towards that. If you're in TCG, it'll work towards that. I would also like to see previous formats as well, so in past forbidden and limited lists. That way you can play traditional formats, and so if you perhaps don't like the current format and the gameplay, you're able to evolve into those specific lists. I'd also like a limitation put in place that meant you could only use cards from that era. So for example, anything for 2010 can only have any products up to that forbidden and limited list, nothing beyond, because that's the problem I tend to find with Yugioh Pro or Yu-Gi-Oh Pro, any of those types of formats, Yu-Gi-Oh! Omega, because lots of people will say, oh, I only want to use this forbidden and limited list, but then they're using cards that are still currently not in the game. They might have just had their release in the OCG, or might have only just had their details released in the OCG, and they haven't already transferred over to the game. If they could limit it that, I would be very much in favour of it. Says here as well, aim to be the #1 player in the world using your most favourable regulation. So to me, it does suggest that they're giving players an option. I would only say my concern with this is it might diversify the player pool a little bit too much, in that people who want to be playing GOAT format will stick to that. They won't go for the modern formats. You might have people who just stick to modern formats, not go into the traditional formats, and where that's going to lie. If and when they're going to be conducting official tournament play, I am suggesting it will be the most current forbidden and limited lists, which means everyone is going to be stuck to that format. I think that's also fine, because that means there's a defined period, and it's not something that has to be a problem. Everyone will understand the new format, everyone understands how things are going to operate, and this will be a decision made by Konami in the future. It says by using the connection with the card database, you can check the deck recipes from duelists from all over the world. This has a benefit and a cost. It has the benefit of enabling you to see what's currently available and what's trending, and maybe to develop strategies around beating those cards. But it also has the cost of introducing cookie cutter decks, where they actually just take the same format, copy and paste the deck, and then either use that, especially for those that win tournaments, or they might change one or two cards. Either way, I think there is a little bit of an area for concern. It says, as previously reported, you can draw an initial 5 cards into your hand from your deck, and the second pick shows that you can keep drawing the next card over and over by pressing the +1 button on the bottom right. So I'm guessing from this, if you are playing a different type of format, then that's okay. It also allows you to deal with cards that may interact by enabling you to maybe draw or not draw during your next turn if you need to go down that route. There's a benefit of being able to dismantle and craft cards. The value on the left side is how many cards are being dismantled, and the one on the right is how many copies the player will have left. The 70 to 100 value is a system of points, in this case for super rare cards, increasing to 100 after this dismantling. At the top, you can see there are values for commons, rares, and ultra rares as well. The benefit of this policy is by doing this, you can get rid of cards that maybe you've got more than 3 copies of that you don't need. In exchange, you can trade those in for a basic point system, and therefore you can actually translate those into rare cards you might not have been able to get, or ones that are going to be more difficult to obtain, far easier than if you had to run through an entire series of, for example, duel links. It says here, this is the card creation screen. This super rare copy of Twin Twister is being created using the super rare points that were previously increased by dismantling super rare copies of Pot of Desires. The values are +10 while dismantling and -30 to craft, so you would need 3 super rare cards to craft 1 new one, assuming they all cost the same when the game releases. I'm not going to assume that personally, because I think Konami is going to want a more intrinsic reward system for anything that's popular. The items they're going to see and the different cards they're going to value depending on what is currently available and what is the latest sets. So, for example, anything that's been released now from Burst of Destruction is going to be fine. That's going to be more valuable than anything that's, for example, Metal Raiders. It says here as well as an important note, it's at the warning at the top, it talks about how this craft in particular will create a basic design. Then it mentions that there is a chance that you may get a different design. Here you could potentially mean the card foiling that it has in-game, but it can since it has no other information, this could very well mean something completely different. The way it reads right now is that you could randomly get an even cooler looking card. I like the design of this, being able to upgrade your shiny cards if you want to go through that process. That's always a good idea, but we'll have to wait until we see further development. In here it also mentions solo play. As mentioned earlier, there's a solo mode with stories based on the card illustrations, which doubles as a tutorial. This also confirms that by clearing some of them, you can obtain some cards, in this case a Monarch structure deck. So by playing through the gameplay yourself on the single mode, if there are certain cards or decks that you want to pick up, that might be the option. With this being the Monarch structure deck, that means you're going to get at least one of each of the basic Monarchs, and therefore you can construct your deck around that. Alternatively, there might be ones where you get random assortments of certain types of cards, and if there are certain ones that you are desiring, then that's also an option you can go for. My only concern with doing this is depending on the length of these single modes. If they're a long playthrough, say for example a few hours, then it's going to be a bit of a hassle if you need to get certain cards to increase the strength of your deck. Alternatively, if they're quite short, then it might incentivize people, especially with quite short attention spans, to progress within the story as much as possible. I'm guessing if they're going to do this, they might add additional storylines in the future, especially since they might be upgrading as they release new products into the TCG and OCG. In terms of the shop feature, this screen shows how you can purchase master packs. The menu reads detailed information, rates how hard it is to pull each card, forbidden and limited list, and cards included in the pack. So each of these will provide you with a different section of information. So the detailed information will give you information about, the specific cards, what their effects are, what they can do, their attack and defense points, their attribute, level, type, you name it, you've got it. The rates, actually, I love the idea of them letting us know how difficult they are going to be to obtain. The higher the rate, the more difficult they are going to be to get. And this gives you a realistic expectation of what you can receive within each card pack. There'll be a variety of them depending on what you're choosing. It being able to link to your Forbidden and Limited list will help you identify which of these cards in these packs cannot be used or are restricted for whatever reason, which means you can identify from each pack whether you want to go for it or whether you want to move on to a different one. And it also mentions the cards included in the pack. That's a self-explanatory one. Very much like the Tag Force games, you get to see what's available and then purchase your packs and test your luck. It says that one pack can be purchased for 100 gems and 10 can be purchased for 1,000. If 10 packs are purchased, you are guaranteed to get one secret rare or higher, and this pack contains 8 cards. So for example, if you get the 10 packs, not only do you have 80 cards that you're going to be getting, but the other thing is you're guaranteed to get a secret rare or higher valuable card. So it incentivizes you to purchase as many as you can within a bulk load rather than a random pack here and a random pack there. It mentions that there are going to be many different card packs, and it says the keys popping up on top of the SR and ultra rare cards. This is good because this will highlight the go-to cards within there and the highest rarities. That will enable you to identify whether you want to target those packs. New card packs can be unlocked depending on certain cards you pull. Pictures on the right margin are secret packs. This I think is also quite good because the more different varieties of cards you actually pull, the more likely you are to get those certain cards. So you'll have on the top, you've got the Scrap Wyvern Synchro Monster, you have Ojama King, you also have Obelisk the Tormentor, Infernity Launcher, and then in the Fluffle one, you've got number 9 Dyson Sphere. You've got various other cards as well that pair with them, as well as some random. And these are just some more screenshots you can see. It says here as well that there are going to be field sleeves, icons, and mates can also be purchased at the stores by apparently using some currency. The mates idea is just a function where you've got a particular monster that helps support you, or not even that, sometimes it's just an image of a specific card such as Pot of Greed. It's an interesting idea and it's definitely something I think helps players to interact further within the game. What do you guys think of all of these elements? I'd love to hear your ideas about what you're looking forward to with Master Duels. Have you got any concerns about the paywall potentially being in there and how competitive the duel landscape is going to become? Put those in the comments down below, and can you do me the favor and watch the video in the end screen? It helps to support my channel. Thank you.